dig my toes in, which I don't wear bare feet, but if I did, how would I get there? If I was going to drive my car, how would I get there? Well, there are lots of different ways to go to the ocean, especially depending on which ocean I want to go to. But whichever way I went, I would definitely use roads, right? I'd use roads. And I have nothing to do with the establishment of those roads. I didn't have anything to say. I had no say in how they cut the roads, what direction they take, why they bend, why they turn. I didn't have anything to do with the paving of those roads or any of those things. I just follow the roads that were made for me, right? But if I wanted to go the ocean my own way in my car, I could still do that too. I could go any way I wanted to. It would just take me a long time. For one, I don't drive a Humvee, so it'd be really difficult. But I'd probably have to cut my way through the woods if I wanted to go through the woods. I'd have to build bridges if I wanted to go over the Savannah River in my own place. You get the idea. It would take a lot of effort and a lot of energy for me to go the ocean my own way. So I just use the roads that are already there. This is not our world, okay? This world has been the possession and domain of our enemy for a very long time. Okay, this is Satan's world, and it's been his domain. It's been his place. And when we're born here, we're already born with a lot of establishments of his, and methodologies of his, and ways to get things done, which are all his. And so as we become Christians, and we are given this goal of becoming sanctified in the Lord and spreading the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ, it's very tempting for us to use his roads because they're already there. Okay? And to try to get and to accomplish our mission as a church using his methods because they're already there. But that's where a lot of the time the church gets in trouble. Because the church cannot accomplish heavenly ends or divine ends using worldly means. And so the church is left with a much more difficult task of making our own roads, okay? Of fording our own rivers and streams, cutting our own paths through the forest, and paving our own roads. And that, sadly, has not been done in the church. And so we continue to just do the thing that is easiest, which is trying to use worldly ways of doing things to accomplish godly ends. And it's really a problem in the church today. And I want to show you how very different these disciples were from Satan, and how very different we are as well. You know, one of my favorite quotes is by Horace Mann. Horace Mann said, "We put things in order, and God does the rest. If you lay an iron bar east and west, it is not magnetized. If you lay it north and south, it is." The point he's making is that our responsibility as Christians is to identify those things in our lives which are not set aright, and to move them in a way that is pleasing to God. To find out what God loves, what he hates, what his natural order is for things. Find the things which are out of order in our lives, which are out of order in our families, in our community, in our church. Make them right, and then allow God to use them. We put things in order, God does the rest. I really, really like that idea. And I think it's time for the church to say to itself, it is not my responsibility to save the world. It's not my responsibility to defeat Satan. Satan is already defeated, and God is already in control and sovereign over the salvation of the church. What our responsibility is to be usable, right? To know what he loves and to what he hates, and to know what his order is, and then to identify and be very thorough in examining ourselves and our church to make things right, so that he can be powerful here in this place. Remember, we're pilgrims, okay? We're pilgrims in a foreign land, and this place is dying. It's not getting better. This is not our home. It will never be our home, and our purpose here on earth is not to take control of all of Satan's possessions and to use them for our own ends. It's not to take control of his establishments, get control of his roadways or anything else. Our purpose here on earth is to be a pilgrim, to be a sojourner, and to be used of God, okay? And to be a witness and a testimony to a lost and dying world, and to be agents of salvation for them. That's our job. And I'm telling you, being a Christian becomes a lot easier when you adopt that mindset. And I want to show it to you in this aftermath, in the very first persecution of the church, okay? And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to contrast what Satan is like and what we're supposed to be like, and what these disciples were like, okay? So the first contrast I want to show you is that Satan is hateful. Satan is hateful. And he is hateful. And we are humble. Okay, look again at verse 4. It says, therefore, those who had been scattered went about preaching the word. Those who were scattered. The church, when it was founded, was all in Jerusalem. Okay, remember Peter's sermon at Pentecost and how 500 people came to know the Lord? That wasn't the only sermon. There were lots of sermons given. And there were a lot of people coming to know the Lord. And the church was growing, and it was all in Jerusalem. Well, after the stoning of Stephen here, a great persecution started. If you look back at verse 3, it says, Saul began ravaging the church, entering house after house and dragging off men and women, and he would put them in prison. And probably worse at times. So the church was being persecuted, so they scattered, they left. But wherever they were scattered to, they preached the word. Well, why is Satan so hateful? Why is Satan going to use Saul and use other means to inspire persecution of the church? Why is he so hateful? He's hateful because he can't be happy. Okay, you need to understand that about Satan. He is a miserable, malcontented person. And he will always be miserable, and he will always be malcontented. He can never be happy, and because he can never be happy, he can never experience joy, he will always be hateful. Always. Now, we cannot respond in kind. I think the temptation amongst most of us is, if we're hit, to hit back. And if somebody hates us, we'll hate them back. But that is not appropriate. We are not supposed to be hateful people. And we're not supposed to respond in kind to persecution by fighting back. Okay? By giving it as good as we're getting it. And it's not also to band together and to become strong and mighty and recruit armies to fight governments and things like that. That's not our purpose. Okay? Our purpose is to spread the gospel. That's what we're in the business of doing. It's not, and you can't spread the gospel and be hateful. So for that purpose, we're to be humble.